I know what you're thinking. Who is this guy with the incredible cheekbones? Where does he get his hair done? One day, I'll be the most famous highwayman in all of England.
You are literally about to be hanged, you idiot!
Quick note to my gang. If you were planning a rescue, now would be a good time.
I just adore this series, and I love the British humor. It's so vastly different, as you know, from American. A real joy to come across that. And I'm just wondering how it came into fruition. I mean, why Dick Turpin, aside from being able to say turpentine?
I'll tell you what, the production company Big Talk, who came up with the idea, they play casting bingo, is what I've heard. So they go, who would be a good Marilyn Monroe? Who would be a good Dick Turpin? And then they said, Noel Fielding would be a good Dick Turpin. And then they said, let's get in touch. And said, do you want to play Dick Turpin? And I said, absolutely. Mainly because of Adam and the Ants song, Stand and Deliver, and his sort of dandified version of Dick Turpin. So yeah, very keen to... and a real character, so it was quite interesting, you know. But we were always going to make it a comedy, so you know, we stretched the character, changed it, reimagined it. It felt right from the get-go. And then once we got some people involved, Hugh was involved, and you know, and Apple, who loved the idea. And then we were sort of up and running, and then it was a case of trying to write some adventures for this new character who's a vegan and a pacifist and a dreamer. Yeah.
Well, you succeeded wildly. Now, Hugh, your relationship with your little wee son is sort of the anti-parenting thing. I mean, it's passive aggressive, really. You know, did you give much thought to it? I mean, if it wasn't comedy, it would be sad.
Well, that's the fun of it. There's clearly some sort of painful hinterland that we don't know about that means that he's got to bring his son to work with him. And obviously, Jonathan Wilde's intention is to become king of the underworld, or at least king of the criminal world, and the junction between state and criminality. But he's being undermined all the time, not only by his nemesis, Dick Turpin, who's just not playing the game of being a successful highwayman, or at least a butch one, and his son undermining him as a parent all the time. I think every parent will recognise the dynamic when you're trying to do something, you know, serious and grown up and with gravitas, and then you've got a kid, you know, sitting there slurping his drink. So it's a fun premise for comedy, that to have the pomposity or the earnestness of the adult pricked by the innocent, fun of the child.
There's a great moment where Christopher wants to go for frozen yogurt, and obviously Jonathan Wilde's not into it, but Dick's into it, and so Dick becomes almost his second child.
Exactly. So Jonathan Wilde is really fed up. He's got these two children to cope with.
Honest to God, it is such a funny thing, and it's dense, word-wise, action-wise, and it must have been choreographed to a degree, you know. And how did that kind of pacing factor into your work, Noel?
Well, we have a really good director called Ben Palmer, who has a very unusual way of working, in as much as he, the way that he links the scenes together and works on the pace and the movement of the whole thing. You know, he sort of the musicality of it, really, of the form of it. He's very into that, but he's also into the comedy. So he never misses a joke, but he also makes things look really action-packed and filmic. You know, so he was the perfect director, really. So and also with a script, you always have too much. You're always trying to put too much into a script, and keep the pace up as much as possible. A little bit like being on a stagecoach, you know. It was like a rollicking ride. We just kept throwing the jokes out there, hoping they would land. And
stick, yes.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. This series I can't wait to watch it again. And I mean, I have a lot of stuff that I have to watch, but I adored this so much. So congratulations on it. And we'll see you hopefully if there's a season 2. Yay!
Fingers crossed.
We strike on 3. 1, 2. We'll get the next one.
I've seen you prancing around in your funny shirts.
I'm new school, and there's going to be less violence on my watch. Is there anything that I could have done to improve your highway robbery experience? But we're just as tough as any other gang in here.
Here's your peppermint tea, Dick. Put a splash of honey in it. I know you got a scratchy throat.
Thanks, little carrot.
There's only one man brainless enough to steal from the syndicate.
Thank you, Dick. I don't know what we'd do without you.
Gonna be famous.
Dick Turpin!
Dick Turpin.
Dick Turpin.
Dick Turpin.
Dick Turpin.
I want this dick in my hands as soon as possible.
That sounds weird.
Yeah, that did sound a bit weird, sorry.